Information to help you run your business better and improve your marketing campaigns. My name is Hank Hoffmeyer, and thank you for joining me on Hank's Marketing and Business Tips. Welcome to episode 299 of the HMBT podcast. Today I'm joined by the one and the only Jack Wrigley. When I asked for an introduction, he just said, introduce me as Jack Wrigley. So we'll find out more about this mysterious man as we have our conversation. I met him early on when I started doing some work with Kickbox and met him at various conferences throughout the country over the last few years. He's the president of Omnivery US, which is a transactional email sending platform, SMTP, API, and they're built for high security and high deliverability use cases, if I have to say what they do. So, Jack, it's a pleasure to have you. I'm shocked that it took 299 episodes to get you on the show, but here we are.
I'm a little disappointed I'm not 300. I mean, come on. But 299 is pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely.
I can't really do it with fingers though. 299. Okay, anyway. Thanks for having me, Hank. It's good to see you.
It's great. Yeah, and I know, we play around in the email space, but we both have a lot of business experience. What I thought we'd talk about today is just, it's a challenging environment for not only just people in general, as far as the economy, health, everything, same thing with businesses. Budgets are so tight. There's new tools out there that are taking over, like AI, and everybody's scrambling to either use that or they're afraid of it. I thought maybe you and I would just talk about like the keep calm and carry on mantra. Like, what do we need to be doing right now to make sure that we're successful, whether it's in our career or in business, for the rest of this year and going into next year? Let's get our crystal balls out and just talk about that.
Yeah, happy to, very much. And heavy asterisk, I don't know if I have all the right, advice and input, but, I'll pull off of some of my experience. Maybe that'll help.
Yeah. So, you've started a couple businesses and you've been around the block. What do you think is like the key to success for any business out there? If you had to name like one or two things people need to pay attention to, if you're a leader or you're just getting started, low level on a totem pole kind of person.
Yeah, that's a really good question because we are hit with so many different things today in terms of what to focus on. And I'm a huge believer in really identifying kind of your core value proposition, whether that's you as a person or as somebody that does something that's very good at email deliverability or whatever. But from a business perspective, I think these types of times really require you to zero in on what is that core mission, what is that core deliverable that you want to bring to the table, and do your best to stay focused on it and execute around it and not get distracted by all the noise that is going on around you at the same time.
That's really important and critical to say. And I remember being part of meetings where those mission and value statements were being created and crafted, and we talked about the why and had to put on poster boards and posted throughout the office, and it's something that we saw every day. I think now with the age of work from home and all these tools, I think companies and businesses can lose sight of that and just say, hey, we need to sell widgets to make money so that we can pay our bills and keep our employees, or I can pay my bills if I'm a solopreneur. I think they think they want to do something for a reason, like some kind of values, but then they might lose sight of that. I guess
it is easy.
Yeah. How do you stay focused on that? Let's say that people heard us and they're going to go and they're going to Google or use ChatGPT and say, how do I develop my mission statement, my core values? How do you make sure that you're staying adhered to those? How do you stay reminded of those, I guess is what I'm going to say.
Yeah, I think it starts from a leadership perspective. If I'm looking at this from just hey, we're building a company, let's say. I think it's incumbent upon leadership to set those kind of core values and mission statement out, but not only set it out, but then articulate how each person contributes to the overall mission statement, how each person sort of comes in at a certain point to really help the company kind of move forward. You have to have not only clarity, but you have to have buy-in, and you have to have, and it shouldn't be forced. It should be very much a kind of a team environment of, hey, here's what we want to achieve. Here's how you're going to, help achieve that. Here's how we think you're going to achieve that. What are your thoughts around helping us achieve that? Really kind of create that opportunity within each person to help propel the company and the company's mission. I think it's extremely important in today's kind of fragmented workforce. There's companies that embrace work from home really well. I think that's awesome. There's hybrid approaches. There's lots of different ways of kind of doing it, I suppose. But at the end of the day, if COVID and things of that nature taught us anything, it's really being super clear on the objectives of the company and how each person helps deliver on those objectives. Because if everybody's in alignment, then it doesn't necessarily matter where you work or how you work and things of that nature, because most people are adults and they just get the job done.
Right. So I got some ideas while you're talking too, because like you said, it,
Yeah,
it comes top down. And I think that there should be a way for either people to have it printed out at home or sent to them via mail, right? Have something they could put on a whiteboard or on a monitor, a sticky note that reminds you of what the mission is, what the values are. Then also maybe if you're, I'm going to use Slack because we use Slack,
yeah,
have an automated monthly message or from the CEO or from somebody in leadership reminding us because just saying everything we do before you hit publish, before you hit save, before you talk to someone, ask, does this meet our
yeah,
mission and our values? And then last but
yeah,
not least, if you have ChatGPT or Gemini and using those, make sure that that is in your training for that custom GPT that you might be using to say, hey, I want to create a message for, or I want to reply to this email. Please adhere to our mission and our values that I fed to you earlier. Those would probably be three things I can mention.
yeah. I think it's really important too, as well, Hank, that it's very easy to kind of have this top-down mentality. When you're the CEO of a company, it's very easy to feel like you just need to constantly be driving down. But I would encourage people to empower employees to articulate. Once you've kind of had a conversation with somebody about how they fit into kind of the overall goal of what you're trying to achieve, have them articulate how they're doing that. It's pretty cool and pretty powerful when you unleash people um, to explain how they're helping achieve those goals. And oftentimes what ends up happening is how you perceive or how you think they should be doing it. They might be doing it in a different way that is much more beneficial. And a lot of that can be very rewarding, not only for the person, but it's great for the company to, I mean, you hire people to do things, and you hire people not to just be yes people. You hire them to execute and be smart, and leverage their wisdom to really help propel your company. So while it's sometimes top down, oftentimes it's best to have the employees kind of help drive that. The stakeholders help drive that.
Right.
It's a pretty cool thing.
One thing I learned early on in my career was being able to lead up, down, and across because everybody thinks it is top down
Right.
leadership, but you can inspire up, you can inspire your coworkers that are at the same level than you, and then people that are, under you can mentor them and inspire them as well.
Sure.
People listening, don't be afraid to try to throw your ideas and buck the system a little bit and ask the hard questions and
Yeah.
show your ideas are good because you're someone that's at the company and hopefully valued and important to the organization and your ideas thoughts experience matters and don't think that you can't talk to somebody that's a VP a president if you're not because you
Yeah.
can and they probably will be impressed and receptive to having conversations with you.
Yeah, a lot of times VPs, presidents, CEOs, they're some of the most scared individuals, in the organization. So sometimes they love to hear, thoughts and ideas and things from others. And quite frankly, I'm a huge fan of encouraging people to talk and communicate and fail. Oftentimes, we view failure as just the worst thing that can happen, but um, I find it honestly one of the most rewarding experiences around, believe it or not, because it teaches you what not to do.
Yeah.
And we all want to know how to do something. Sometimes it's as valuable as powerful to learn how not to do something. So
Yeah.
just encourage all of that experience.
Yeah, it is. Just try not to do the same failure 5 times, right? You gotta learn from your mistakes.
Well, yeah, I mean, then okay, that yeah, that might take a little far, but I've been there too. Not gonna lie.
Oh, all right. So it's what? It's Q4, holiday season's coming
Yeah,
up. Everybody's marketing, spending more, sending out more messages. What
yeah,
are things that maybe a brand or a person or someone can do to stand out from the crowd right now? Whether it's an email, whether it's a social media post. If you want to adhere to your mission and your values,
yeah.
and you want to get brand recognition, what are some things that we can think about to be outside the box?
Man, right now, I'm not sure you want to be too far outside the box because there are some really, really great practices that resonate with consumers and people that might, purchase your products. And again, you hear it a lot in our industry about, um, being relevant, sending information or offers or emails, for example, that somebody wants. You hear it so much that you sometimes drown it out, right? Because it's like, oh my God, really? Are there still people just hitting send and hoping? There are. But right now I think is just a good time to be mindful of listen, the holidays are busy for everybody, and specific to email, the more that you can be sending relevant information that potentially helps a person make a decision quicker, or is something that they might have been looking for. Those things really resonate this time of year because not only is it hectic for you as a marketer or as a business because you're trying to hit different revenue goals and all this other stuff. Well, guess what? Those consumers that are going to help you get there are just getting hammered too. So
Right.
um, you know, be considerate.
Do you think storytelling still works?
Um, yeah, for sure. I think storytelling drives empathy and drives compassion and drives an ability to truly connect with whomever you're speaking with, much more so than just hoping something catches their eye, like they're a trout in a stream or something, right?
Hmm.
Yeah, I think storytelling absolutely helps and is still extremely valuable. The trick to storytelling is to start it early and keep it going, in my opinion. You have a much better chance of really nurturing and building that trust with the customer and kind of that empathy and connection.
Yeah, in other words, like don't just start doing storytelling like once and then forget about it and then 6 months later try it again. It has to be cohesive. It has to be part of your DNA. Whether it's a
Sure.
product or service, telling that story around that, like how you started maybe and how
Yeah.
you changed the world or somebody's life with your
I
product or
mean,
service.
shoot, Hank, you look at the best brands in the world, and they're all really built around story. They're not built around a pair of shoes. They're built around a story or an image or something, right? Whether that's like a company like Eddie Bauer, if they're still around. I don't know if they are, but I know that sounds weird, right? I live in Texas now, so Eddie Bauer isn't quite as much of a thing as it was when I lived up in Seattle. But gosh, you look at Nike or any major brand, it's all built around some sort of story, some kind of concept,
Yeah.
not so much just the shoe.
I think the hard part is just finding out like what is your story. Like if you're somebody starting out and you're a plumber, like what is your story? You might say, "Hey, I just started 3 months ago. I don't have a story." Well, you do. It's just not as
Like how
historied
did
as
so
others, but
so
it'll
one of
get
the
there.
things I love to say to people is your story starts with how did I get here? How did I become a plumber? How did I become a roofer? How did I become a small business owner? There is a story in there that if you just allow yourself to kind of unpack it a bit and start to tell it in a meaningful way, people will absolutely gravitate towards it. There's
Yeah,
no doubt in my mind.
yeah. Especially on TikTok. I mean, not even business related. The people that are doing well are people that get on and do story time stuff and they just talk about like their day or a problem or a success that
But
they had.
okay, those are weirdos. No, I'm just kidding.
But hey, but if they took that effort, put it into a business,
But they got a link there that you can buy something. It's awesome.
Yeah. And well, there's so
No.
many of those people now selling products, right, and earning affiliate money, and they some of them do it very well. Sometimes I don't realize it's like an ad until like I'm like 10 seconds, 15 seconds in.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's interesting because there's a couple of new, and I can't think of the name of them, but there's a couple of new platforms that allow you to just, they're like pop-up. It's a pop-up app, and somebody will, and the reason I learned of one of these was because we were selling some things for a neighbor, and the person that bought them bought the entire group of clothes, kids' clothes, which was fine. It was great. Got helped the neighbor out, etc. But when I asked her, I said, "What do you do with this?" She goes, "Well, I think it's called What's Not. What might be Whatnot or something like that."
Oh yeah,
She
yeah.
puts it she puts it on an app, and she has a live show selling the things that she recently purchased. And I'm like, man, that's unbelievable, right? I mean, that's really really cool stuff. That's really powerful.
Yeah, I heard
So
that's up and coming. So yeah,
well, it's for
what
sure, and
not?
that
What's not? Yeah.
What's Not, yeah, that
Yeah, what
that
not?
gives her plenty of opportunity to tell a story. And whatever that story is, she wants to craft and build that relationship with the customer, so that when she has their next sale, people log in and watch. It's pretty cool.
And kind of along the lines of stories,
Yeah.
when I see you walk into a room, you kind of light up the room and you smile and people kind of gravitate towards you. So let's switch and talk about networking because that's another important aspect
Yeah.
of being successful. You're
Yeah.
very successful at that and you seem to do well. What do you think
Well,
makes for the best type of networking? What are your secrets to networking?
yeah. Well, first of all, thanks for that. I, I don't know if it's really a secret. I don't know if it's the way I'm wired. I don't want to sit here and go, oh, I've got this grand plan on exactly how I'm going to enter a room and do my thing. But I think first and foremost, you have to be willing to put yourself into a situation where you know no one. You have to be able to do that because if you can't, it's really hard to start networking. And so once you take that step, you then have to be able to and willing to listen. Like introduce yourself and listen to somebody else tell you about themselves versus you feeling like you have to tell your story right out of the gate. Um, and ultimately, I have found life to be much more interesting when I build relationships with people, whether or not there's a reason for it other than it's just a moment in time. I think sometimes people are, and I'll give you a quick example. My wife and I lived in Washington, D.C. at one point, and I swear to God, Washington, D.C. was awesome in so many different ways. But you always felt that anybody you met, they had an angle. That there was an angle as to, they were like, hey, good to meet you, Jack. And what do you do? How can you help me? I mean, it was really overbearing, right? And I think that sometimes, you know, the best approach is don't have an angle. Your angle is, hey, we're in the same place at the same time. What do you do? Oh, wow. If there's commonality, awesome. If not, you connect and maybe you can help them out down the road. It's just it's an approach that is not about me. It's about whomever is in the room. And I like meeting people and figuring out what they do and how they do it and learning about their life journey and stuff like that.
Once I get warmed up, I'm okay. If I went to like an event and I didn't know anyone, for the first like I want to maybe say like 10 minutes or so, I'd probably be like worried about walking up to somebody, or especially if it's a group, I feel like I'd be interrupting and that would be in the
Right.
back of my brain, or I'm always afraid of
Sure.
walking up to someone because I'll be like, do they want to talk to me? But then
Yeah.
once I start talking and I break the ice, I'm
Yeah.
able to just do it with all the other people in the room. But I think that's where a lot of people struggle is they might be introverts and they want to go out and network. And I think really just walk up to someone and talk to them would be my tip, right? Because that's what I
Yeah.
force myself
The,
to do.
what's funny is nobody else has an edge on you. I mean, it's not like, somebody else is like super great at conversation all the time. It's just, hey, how you doing? You
Yeah.
meet people and it's okay to meet someone and go, well, I'm going to move on to the next person because that was kind of a dud. And it happens all the time, right? So just, walk in and put yourself out there and meet people and try really hard not to always have it focused on, what can they do for you? Maybe reverse that maybe I'm going to meet somebody today that's had a really bad day, and can help them out just by having a conversation and chit chatting. So
Yeah. I want to give
it's
a
really
shout out
important.
to Stan Phelps, somebody I know. He's really good at networking. And one thing he does is like if you walk into the room and he sees you and he's talking to someone, he'll bring that person over and introduce them. And he's really good with names, obviously, because of that.
Yeah,
Like for me, I'd have a hard time doing that because I'm bad with names, especially if I
totally,
just met someone. But he's really
totally.
good at, if he saw you come in, he's going to introduce you to a few people while you're there. And he does
Yeah,
that with a lot of people. And I'm really impressed with the fact of how he does that. It's really cool.
yeah. I'm not necessarily the best at that. um, and even though I don't go into relationships trying to figure out how to work together with people, I am pretty good at kind of cutting to the chase at times if there is a connection to be made. And it's not always with me, but for instance, I can meet you and go, you know what, you need to meet Bob or Sarah or whomever, and then see if that would be helpful to you. And if it's helpful, then I make the introduction. I'm not like your buddy though. I'm terrible usually with names. I'm constantly looking at your badge, going, "Oh, it's Hank. That's right."
Yeah.
But
I used to be very bad with names. I've gotten better, but I'm still not great at it and always
yeah,
working on something. But yeah,
yeah, yeah. You
networking
always
is
got to be
good.
working on something. It's awesome.
Yeah, I love to meet people and then connect with them on LinkedIn. I don't accept blind invites. I don't know if you never heard me say that,
Yeah,
but
no,
I
no.
do reply to all of them
I've read your
though.
rants. I've read
Yeah.
your rants.
Yeah, it works out pretty well for me. I'll get some people that argue with me every now and then. That's fun, but
So it's funny because I guess at the core of who I am, I guess a lot of people, oh, he's a sales guy, and that's fine. Yeah, that's totally fine. I don't always think of myself as a salesperson, believe it or not, but I'm more of a relationship guy because I think through the right relationships and doing the right thing, if you have service to offer and it's meaningful, then people will take it. It'll be more natural than the cold call, for example. But that said, I always anytime somebody pings me cold on LinkedIn, I do not have the visceral hammer 'em. I like look at it and then I put myself in their shoes and more times than not, I'm like, man, I'm just not interested.
that's funny.
I try to be, I'm just not because I don't want to be that guy because I know they're getting
Yeah.
hit by that guy a lot and that gal.
Yeah.
So,
That was a
but
pretty good content there, but yeah, I'm not interested.
so I'll tell you a funny one just recently, and somebody may see this and go, oh yeah, me too. But I was recently approached by a young lady who was selling trees. Have you been hit by that yet on LinkedIn?
Mm-mm.
So you as a company, you can for reforestation and stuff, which is
Okay.
I think it's awesome. I mean, I did that years ago, many years ago, growing up in the Northwest. Sponsored and helped companies sponsor buying trees to reforest the forest, right? Which I think is really cool. But anyway, it was just so funny because I totally out of the blue, she sent me this. Yeah, we do it around Earth Day and this other pretty much, and you can sponsor, a grove of trees, and it's like $15,000, and then they send you pictures, and they can. I think in some cases they set up a video so you can actually see your trees grow and all this other stuff, right? That's probably all fake, who knows? But I was like, immediately, I'm like, it's kind of cool. So I chatted with her a little bit. I said, nah, not right now, but thanks so much for sharing it with me. That was kind of cool information. A lot of people probably are like, what? Are you kidding me? You're
Yeah.
selling trees? What? Anyway,
I love when people dig into like where you're from and they try to correlate that. Like, oh, you live in the Chapel Hill area. It must be tough going through Chapel Hill during rush hour. And then I'm like, well, I work from home.
oh yeah. So you can never, I mean, shoot, man, you can never be that goofy about it for sure. I
Yeah.
mean, I just yeah, I'm not a big fan of that.
So you are a sales guy. There's a lot of
Rumor has it.
changes with email marketing, especially with authentication,
Hmm.
legislation. Certain states and countries, have laws, right, against cold emails.
Yeah.
What is your thought on cold emails and the challenges that salespeople are having these days? Because it is a necessary evil of if you, especially if you're B2B and you're trying to get people interested in your product or service. What are your thoughts on the, I guess, what is happening with cold email in this day and
Yeah.
age of email marketing?
So I'm probably the wrong guy to ask that question because I'm gonna piss off a lot of people that I personally know that embrace cold email. But I'm not necessarily a fan of it, and and that doesn't come from this perspective of, oh, I'm high and mighty and better than you and all this kind of crap. I don't think it works. I think there's too many things that get in the way from you hitting send with this most beautiful pitch that might be relevant to somebody, but it gets caught up in all kinds of
Right.
different things that keep it from getting received. So I'm not a big fan for a lot of reasons. I'm not, and this might strike. Well, I don't know. Some people might go, "Duh." I do think that sometimes we criticize cold outreach um, as this massive intrusion. When I tend to look at it, if it's done right, it can be a point of discovery for the
Hmm.
person. If it's done right, and I'm not saying everybody does it right, but I'm not a hardcore, don't do anything cold, because I think that there is an opportunity for people to learn. Um, and maybe expand their knowledge and whatever else might go on, right? But I think it's overall, I'm not a fan of cold email because I just don't think it works. I'm much more of a um, relationship guy by by a long way. I would rather um, build a relationship on a mutual thing or interest or something, so that when I do email you, you are like, oh, it's Jack. Yeah, this is awesome. This is information that I wanted. Versus doing it cold. I just don't think it works very well. Now, there's going to be people that probably read this and go, "This is BS. I can show you how it works." Blah blah blah.
Yeah.
That's fine. I mean, they can do their thing, but I just don't think it works that well today.
Yeah, I've been talking to a few B2B companies that wanted some advice lately, and they've been receptive.
Yeah,
And my thoughts are more, you need to shift to the make them come to you rather than spraying them with emails, kind of a thing. Now, maybe some companies, if you find some, like if I know you are the decision maker and you absolutely should know about our mission, our values, and what we do,
yeah,
maybe using like my Gmail, my Outlook, and sending you that one-off cold email, right? This way, number one, it's protecting your
right,
reputation a little bit, et cetera. But just don't
right.
do 500, 5,000, 8,000 at a time. A few here and there, but really like use LinkedIn or use advertising, use social media to get them to come to you first
Yeah,
and start that conversation.
it's funny. I'm not even sure that one-off works anymore, Hank.
Yeah.
Um, I, my feeling is, I think the smart B2B companies sort of approach their business customer as a consumer, and do webinars, do infographics, do something that somebody might find interesting, and sort of appropriate for their line of business, so that they want to learn more. I mean, they want to go, gosh, that was an outstanding seminar, webinar, whatever. I want to reach out and, yeah, let me fill out the form and get more information, right? I still think that's the best way to even win in business. I think the biggest challenge is um, oftentimes business is so focused on the transaction, and even though Omnivore is a transactional email provider, a little bit different in this context. If you have leadership in a company that is so focused on just a transaction, in my opinion, you will lose at the end of the day.
Hmm.
You have to, even if there's a transaction involved, you still have to build trust. You still have to build a reputation. You still have to build, certain elements of your business so that that transaction can happen more easily and more freely. But I mean, there's so many companies that are just, how much did you sell today? What did you do today? How many emails did you? Everything is transaction driven, and ultimately, those companies don't succeed.
Yeah, that's like a flash in the pan, and maybe the what do you want to call that? The repeat purchases, or
Right.
just somebody referring you. Even if somebody says, "Well, nobody's going to buy more than once from me," but they may refer people. But if you treat it like a transaction, as you mentioned, it may not cause referrals, or they won't do repeat purchases. They won't come back down the road. When you
Right.
do the right thing, you're setting yourself up for future success. Same thing
Right.
with like slow, like social media is a slow burn, right? And SEO is a
Yep.
slow burn, and all those things that you put them all together and they just start working. And then if you can
Right.
get permission to email someone and then you nurture them through the email with, relationship type marketing,
Yeah.
that's a lot better than sending that cold email. Me trying to figure out what is relevant in your daily life that I learned from LinkedIn or something, but it's not really important to you and you don't care. And I used that in a cold
Well,
email to you.
well, and let's be honest, Hank, it probably never even reaches the person anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so much sophistication in delivering an email today, and so many ways to not have an email delivered. To think that your email was sent, read, and they're not interested is almost like dumb because you might have sent it, but it probably didn't ever get read. So
Yeah.
that to me is the biggest challenge.
That's why I think it's good to start a podcast, do webinars. This way you
Absolutely.
can get the word out and get people to
You mean
watch
build a
that. Yep.
relationship, build,
Yeah.
build, build, build relevant content that people are
Yeah.
interested
So talking about
in.
interest,
Yeah.
how uh, what is the right type of person for Omnivery? What kind of people would say, "Hey, I should check them out," and how do they do that? How do they get in touch with Omnivery?
Yeah, well, they can get in touch with Omnivery by reaching out to me on LinkedIn. They can send an email to sales@omnivery.com. But ultimately, what we've built is an email process that is we consider to be premium, and it's really designed for customers who want that next level of deliverability, privacy, those types of things. It's really, in my opinion, way overdue in this industry, where brands can now align with a sender that has kind of their best intentions in mind as well. So, for example, like in Omnivery, we don't have any self-service. You have to be approved to send with us. Not everybody gets past the velvet ropes, unfortunately,
Mhm.
but there's a reason for that because the folks that do really experience something very special, and that's what we're most important in. So that's what we're most focused on. So brands that value themselves, brands that value the relationship between themselves and their customers, they should absolutely take a look at our service. We may not be the right fit for everybody, and that's fine, but they should absolutely look at us from that perspective.
All right. So check out Omnivery if you're interested in API or SMTP email sending. And if you want to learn how to light up a room, Jack's your guy. Uh, also want to mention that, if you use the code HMBT at kickbox.com, you get 5,000 free credits. I was able to swindle that from the folks at Kickbox just to show support for the show and also give you free verifications. Normally, you only get 100 when you sign up for a free account, so you're going to get 5,000. And
That's awesome.
Jack's going to teach you how to network and send emails.
Happy to do it, man. No strings attached ever.
All right, everybody. Have a great day.
Thanks, Hank, so much. Appreciate it.